I started as a kid, and as most kids do, their parents get them started, and I wasn't a prodigy or anything like that. I never really worked particularly hard, really until I got to Juilliard and realized how far behind I was and how much practicing I had to do just to catch up, and I feel like I've been catching up ever since. But I have an older sister who's a professional violinist and director of the the Music School of Delaware, a statewide community music school, serves thousands of students there, and also a violinist in the Seraphim String Quartet. And she's a little bit older than I was, and was always really very passionate and precociously so about music as a kid, and particularly about chamber music. Her dedication and interest and love of music was a huge influence on me, and I think maybe the main reason that I'm in music myself. And it's wonderful to have a sibling like that. We play together every year pretty much. We do programs called Ransom Notes, which are kind of cute. And it's always a special bond to be able to make music with a family member like that. My mother played the piano a little bit. My father had a beautiful singing voice and always dreamed of being a drummer in a band, but both loved music and had music playing in the house all the time. He was a lifetime academic, a political scientist at Vanderbilt University, and my mother was director and founder of the Women's Center at Vanderbilt, one of the first women's centers in the nation, and one of the first women's studies programs in the nation as well. So I was one of the original male feminists. Well, as a kid, I went to public schools through 6th grade, and again was just another kid studying the piano. I may have been one of the better ones of my teacher's students, but I was far from any kind of prodigy or anything like that. So it wasn't anything special, and then I went on to a private kind of a prep school called MBA, Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville, Tennessee. And there was very sports oriented, and music was practically non-existent, and I felt totally out of place there. And that's also when I started becoming more serious about music and really thinking about possibly doing it long term. And so I was very unhappy and very uncomfortable there, in large part because again, there was almost no music there, but more because it was all boys and there were no girls there. So I ended up transferring in my junior year to a Peabody demonstration school. It's now the University School of Nashville, a school that was much more friendly towards the arts and towards music. One of my very first jobs when I was about 20, I was still a student at Juilliard, and had been going to this summer music camp from the time I was 11, called the Sewanee Music Center, Sewanee Summer Music Festival in Tennessee. And that's a place that really developed my love of music as well. You know, a 6-week session in the summers where you're surrounded by kids doing the same thing you love really intensely. It was an incredible program. The director there, Martha McCrory, another one of my heroes and great inspirations for what I do today in every way. Just extraordinary woman who ran that program all by herself. And so when I was 20, I went back to Sewanee as a faculty member. Very junior faculty member, but started teaching there. And lo and behold, on the faculty was a conductor and clarinetist named Bruce Dinkins, who at that time was the director of instrumental music here at Emory. And after a couple of summers teaching there, I was still a student, a grad student by that point. Bruce said that Emory was opening a brand new position for piano. First time they'd ever had it. And the department then was tiny, and they were just starting to build a real program, a music program, aside from the choral program here, which has always been historically the strength of Emory's music program. And so he encouraged me to apply, and I did. I was just graduating with a doctoral degree and was a young married man. I needed a job, so I was looking around, and there were 3 possibilities that year. One was Emory, another was a small religious school in Texas, and the other was in Fairbanks, Alaska. And I remember talking to my wife at the time and saying, and Alaska wrote and said, please seriously consider if you really want to take this job, because just to get you out here for the interview and the audition costs so much money. And so I talked with her, and we decided that we didn't want to start life in Fairbanks, Alaska. Probably unfair. I'm sure it's an incredible place, but and the other choice was Atlanta, and it seemed like a great opportunity. So I came to Emory. This is my 30th year, which I can hardly believe. Came right out of school. Here at Emory, I am Director of Piano Studies, so I coordinate all of our music students who are studying piano, either as majors or non-majors, and we offer that both ways here. And the other half of my duties here is that I run the Emory Chamber Music Society of Atlanta, which is the largest chamber music organization in town. We're in our 22nd year this year, and it's just an incredible honor for me to have both founded and to run this organization, which is doing so well now. It's one of the bright spots in the arts, honestly, not just in Atlanta, but maybe nationally. The goal is nothing less than to develop whole new generations of passionate and educated music lovers who are going to continue to support this greatest art forever. And we're achieving that through a number of different ways. So obviously the most public way we do that is through our concert series, which is very extensive now. We do about 30 public concerts a year. We have 3 distinct series. We have a noontime series on Fridays, about once a month at the Carlos Museum, a family series that's geared towards children, also at the Carlos on Sunday afternoons, and then our more formal Emerson series, which is open to the greater public. And all 3 of them, I don't know if you've been to concerts recently, but they're generally packed, and it's very exciting and fulfilling to see that response to this great music. So those are the public, the obvious ways that we're spreading music, but more importantly perhaps is through the String Quartet in Residence program, which we started in 2006 here at Emory. It's sponsored by the Chamber Music Society, and we were very lucky to bring the Vegas String Quartet, who at that time were a very young group, just out of school, just getting their professional start, to join the faculty as the first full-time string quartet ever to be resident here in Atlanta. And they are a core of the Chamber Music Society. They play on lots of the concerts, not all of them, but a great number of them. And also they are the sort of the spearhead for our educational activities as well. The way the residency's been developed here at Emory, they teach across the curriculum throughout the school and go into 8 classes every semester, everything from anthropology and chemistry and physics and history and languages and religion, anything you can think of, and work with the teacher, the faculty member, to talk about the relationship between music and that given subject. And when the students get this experience to have a world-class quartet playing right there in front of them, just 10 feet from them, and talking with them, and they're young, attractive people as well, so the students can really relate with them. They get so excited about it, and almost without question, at the end of every class they come and say, "That was the best class we ever had." So it's very exciting, and then they end up coming to the concerts as well, because they see the excitement of what this music and these performers can bring. So at Emory they do that, and of course they're very active in the music department as well, coaching our string quartet program, which they developed, and our chamber music program for students, and giving sectionals to the Emory Orchestra, which has strengthened that group into just a really extraordinary group. That, coupled with our really remarkable orchestra director, Richard Pryor, has brought the orchestra up to a level that I don't think anybody ever hoped for here at Emory, but it's something we can really be proud of, and is extraordinary for us to have at a liberal arts college. Really quite wonderful. So they do that, and they give private lessons to some of our majors and non-majors as well. And then in the greater community, they are part of Young Audiences of Atlanta, so they're going into the public schools and reaching thousands of public school children every year. And they've also started the Emory Youth Chamber Music program as well, which is designed for really serious and advanced pre-college students who want to get the experience of studying chamber music with a really first-class group. So all of those things together, I feel like we're having incredible success at achieving our mission of, as I say, creating new audiences for this great art form. And that perhaps, as we all know what's going on here in Atlanta with the symphony, one of the things that everybody would agree on is that we need more audiences. And if nobody's really focusing on developing those audiences in a concrete way, there's no hope for the art form to survive. We have so many great schools of music, and so many bad schools of music as well in this country, turning out literally thousands of would-be performers and musicians every year. But there's no program that's really devoted towards creating the next generation of listeners and supporters of this art. And I like to think that we can be a model for that, and that the string quartet residency program here is the core of that model as well. So I'm really excited and hopeful as to the future of music, and our big and enthusiastic audiences here, I think, bear out the fact that there is hope and also support for this greatest art in our community and throughout the country. Up in Highlands, yeah, another just tremendous joy and honor for me to be able to do that. I've been artistic director of the festival for, just finished my 15th year. That festival is in its 33rd season. We just finished our 33rd season, and it also is just having unprecedented success. We had bigger audiences and more donors than we ever had this last season, and it's just an extraordinary opportunity to bring together great musicians from all over the world to this little paradise, only 2 hours from Atlanta. A lot of people don't realize how close it is, and just share, again, this incredible art. It's also, for me, the perfect complement to what I do here, because I'm able to sometimes try out programs here and see if they work. If they do, I'll take them to the festival. Sometimes I'll try something at the festival. If it's a real success, I'll try and put it on here in Atlanta during the regular season. Mm-hmm. Wow, well, that's a huge subject, and goes back to the beginnings of Western art music as well, when some music was outlawed because it stirred up too much emotion in people. And I love to try and take myself or my listeners or my students back to a time before music and noise in general was so pervasive, and imagine that you are in a situation, say 300 years ago, where music is special. I mean, it's magic. You never hear it unless you're in a very special place. Maybe if you go to a church, if you happen to be lucky enough to live in a place where there is a church with a music program, or if you're super wealthy and you're a prince or something like that, and you're in court and the prince is particularly interested in the arts, and you get to hear something by Mozart or by Haydn, and it's something that you never hear. I mean, to try and take your ears back to that time recreates the excitement about it for me in some ways. But I think we lose that a lot, and if there's a way to recapture that, I think we'd all appreciate the music more. You say, oh, I'm going to hear Beethoven's Fifth again. Are you kidding? You're going to hear Beethoven's Fifth. Come on. It's an incredible opportunity. It does, through some magical way, elicit emotions from us, and that's what's exciting about it, that all the great quotes, music picks up where words leave off. So absolutely, a lot of it is learned, and whatever culture you happen to grow up in, you're going to learn a different reaction to this music. And I'm I often try something with students who have not had any obvious musical background, and I'll play something as simple as a major and a minor chord and ask them, because we're always told, oh, minor is sad and major is happy. So I'll play one or the other and ask them, and invariably those who have not had specific training will not react the same way to those who have had some training, who are trained to say, oh, minor is sad. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right that a lot of it is built in, and I actually was instrumental, if I may, in developing a course with the Vega Quartet and with Dr. Paul Leonard, who's director of the Neurobiology and Behavior program here at Emory, called The Musical Brain. And that was, I think we offered it for the first time 6 or 7 years ago. It's going to be offered again in the spring. And it's a combination of hardcore neuroscience and hardcore music as well. And we bring those together in every class throughout the semester. And through that, you learn very early how much of this happens in the brain and is hardwired in at a very young age. Whether it's this recognition of major and minor, or of developing perfect pitch, or of our reactions to music as well, and to what we're physically able to hear through the way the brain develops. All happens at such a young age. So you always hear about how you have to start early to become an excellent musician, and that's probably a big part of the reason. It's maybe physically impossible for our brains to catch up if we haven't had that training at a very young age. Probably not favorites. I mean, if by contemporary you mean now, living composers, having grown up and sort of reached my professional maturity in the 80s and 90s, even from then to today, the idea of contemporary music has changed so much. But I mean, when I auditioned at Juilliard, I auditioned with a Debussy piece, which they counted as modern, and now you look back and really laugh at that. But when I was a kid, I mean, even Bartok, Shostakovich, Stravinsky, they were still brand new. They were almost contemporary, and now they seem old-fashioned. And as a presenter, it's been interesting to me when I first started presenting, even just 20, 25 years ago, how some audiences would still have difficulty, even with Bartok or Stravinsky or something like that. But I found if you prepare them well, if you speak to the audience and tell them what the music is about, what to listen for, and ask them to give it a chance and to challenge them, that without fail they respond to it. And I think that continues to today, to today's truly new music, contemporary music. And I think it is absolutely essential that all presenters keep new music as part of the core of what they do. And I certainly do that in all my presentations. We have world premieres and commissions and everything that we do annually here at Emory. Not as much up in Highlands. It's a little more conservative audience there, and I try and be a little bit more careful. But again, when presented in the right way, you can program absolutely anything and sell it to the audience if it's done in the right way. Real problem that I see in some contemporary music circles is that, in a sense, they ghettoize themselves, and they'll do programs that are all contemporary music and then be shocked or upset or sad that they're not getting an audience and support. For me, I mean, if you did an all Bach program all the time and that's all you did, you'd probably have the same response. People want to hear variety, and they want to hear a mix of things that they know and love, and at the same time they're open to new things as well. But if you hit them over the head with too much all at the same time, then I think it's a losing battle. And I see that happen a lot with contemporary music ensembles and series as well. Just music in general?
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with Beethoven. Yeah, I think probably as a pianist, particularly Beethoven and Chopin are my two favorites. Chopin's such an extraordinary composer, one of the only ones who wrote almost exclusively for one instrument, for the piano. And because of that, I think most pianists have more than a soft spot in our hearts for his music. And Beethoven, Bach, all the big ones. It's an interesting question. In some ways, in most ways, I try and live my life completely in the present now for a variety of personal and professional reasons. I find that life is much better if I can be completely presently here. At the same time, I'm a presenter, and so I have to be planning seasons out for both Highlands and for the Chamber Music Society here. And I do have dreams about long-term projects as well. And specifically about 10 years out, it's actually a little further than that. I hope I'm around long enough to be here for 2027 for the 200th anniversary of Beethoven's death, because I'm looking forward to a huge year-long Beethoven bash of as much of his music as we can possibly present. So that's a long time down the road. But in the shorter term, sort of the biggest project that I'm working on right now is that we've received a $1 million matching challenge grant from the Katz Foundation, the Abraham J. and Phyllis Katz Foundation, that if we can meet it, this is for Emory, if we can meet it by 2016, we'll have funding for the String Quartet in Residence program here in perpetuity. And that's extraordinary. I mean, the idea that we could start from nothing in 2006 to having a permanent string quartet in residence at Emory and in Atlanta forever, that's an incredibly fulfilling idea that I could have been part of establishing that. It's almost as though, on the chamber music end, it's as though you're saying someone established the Atlanta Symphony and made it last forever. I would like for the Chamber Music Society and the Quartet in Residence program here to be the chamber music organization in the Southeast. And in 10 years, I think that's, if we're not there already, I think that's a very reachable goal.